What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Boozer here. Thanks for stopping by. Happy Monday, by the way. Hopefully you guys are having a great start to the week. In today's video, we're going to be going over some Plarium news here in regards to the upcoming events during CVC. CVC is happening in about 21 hours here. You can kind of see here already in game. It's going to be non-personal rewards, so no real stress there. And if you guys are interested, I will be streaming shortly after CVC starts. So if you guys are on YouTube, make sure you guys drop on by. With that all being said, let's jump into the event news here so far. So I'm going to break this up here. We got 3 parts to this. So this is part 1. So on Tuesday, August 12th, we're going to be launching a progressive event, giving you at least 15x chance to summon the champions of this pool. So we got a pretty cool pool of champions here, some pretty good ones here. So first off, starting with the non-boys, we got Harima. Excellent champion here. Great for a lot of areas in the game. PvE, PvP. She made a very good damage dealer with Mikage, of course. She has an amazing passive here. Enemy ignore defense effects are decreased by 50%. Now that's going to shut down a lot of damage from most champions, especially ones that heavily rely on this ignore defense to do a lot of damage. For example, if you have like some Wukong, his A2, for example, ignores 50% of the target's defense. Well, in this case, if Harima is on the field, it only ignores 25%. Pretty big deal. The other part of her passive here, champions from the Demon Spawn faction cannot inflict critical hits on this champion, and she can't land weak hits against Demon Spawn. That's pretty strong. It's a little bit niche, but Demon Spawn is a very strong faction. So you get pretty good value from this occasionally when you see them. You got triple hit here. It hits super hard into an AoE. If it kills somebody, this AoE doesn't hit particularly hard in terms of overall multipliers, but it does ramp up and from the increased defense stacks here on A2. So, obviously the multipliers are a little bit lower because of the ramp up potential. One here with defense, good base defense overall, great champion. She's going to be up for grabs tomorrow. We also have up for grabs Arman's. That's going to be tomorrow as well. One of the best fusions of all time, if not the best, probably the best, say PvP PvP fusion of all time. And then, of course, we have Newt, which is the best PvE fusion of all time. But yeah, those two, probably 1, 2 in terms of best fusions of all time. Let me know in the comments below which one you guys think is better. I think Arman's is probably a little bit better because you can use Arman in PvP as well. But if you use Newt in PvP, he's not going to be, he's really not as at that usable level, I think. Anyways, Arman's here. You got the A1 with the increased cooldown of a random active skill by 2 turns. Very annoying. It's 50% chance when fully booked. And then Arman's has the most busted 3-turn AoE stun in the game. Steals the turn meter from each target, which is absolutely insane. And then he brings a 3-turn single target sheep, doesn't weak hit or anything like that, into a team-wide strip. Now this ability is a little bit, I'd say a little bit more manageable now since the wand exists. Because when Arman's use sheep, he has a chance to sheep himself, and it can cost you the game in live arena. So it's a little bit more manageable now, but he's still a huge threat in live arena. And of course, he brings the speed in all battles as well. If you don't have Arman's, you definitely want at least one on your account. Great for waves, great for arena, and he will be up for grabs tomorrow. Up next, we have Nishak Verminlord from the Skinwalkers here. Very solid champion. Yeah, for PvE and PvP, actually. The bombs are really threatening. You got the AoE bombs here, 100%. And then you have the A2, which decreases attack and reduces the detonation countdown by 1. And then the A1 here also places bombs. And then when all his bombs are, basically removed or detonates, they leave 2 poisons behind. He actually deals good damage, and he's a threat in arena as well. You can use him for PvP and PvE. So PvE against bosses, the poisons are really solid. There's some builds where Nishak is basically like in regen and he can solo bosses like Dragon. So very versatile champion. He was a Christmas fusion a couple years ago. This guy absolutely kills Bommel. If you have him and Bommel's a problem, then really shouldn't be a problem because this guy is absolutely insane, and he will be up for grabs tomorrow. Lastly, for the non-boys here, we have another fusion from the Undead Hordes, we have the other blue guy, Lord Entertainer Fabian. So Fabian was a fusion from the 6th anniversary event this year. So he's relatively new. Got the speed in all battles here, 109 base speed. Extremely good fusion. He's probably very on par with Arman's, which I consider basically the top 2 fusions of all time. Both are pretty good in different ways, I think. I think they're similar, but they're a little bit different. But I think overall, Arman's ability is a little bit more busted just because the stun, you cannot kick out of it. Whereas Fabian here, he has a A2 that lands fear on everybody. So you can petrify somebody and land fear on everybody, but people have the opportunity to kick out of fear. Whereas Arman's stun is, can't really kick out of it. You got the A1 turn meter steal. And then, yeah, petrification is really nice. You get remove the buffs and all that stuff. Then this passive effect is very, very annoying. Whenever an enemy basically kicks out of fear, you can go back in with this A2 petrification. Yeah, this is an extremely crippling ability. So if you just can't stop the Fabian's just gonna petrify everybody, constantly fear everybody. But in live arena, where Fabian's probably most likely used, similar to Arman's, all these debuffs can sometimes get wanded back or get cheaped. So there is some negative to this, and it's not like 100% guaranteed win for Fabian, even if this passive starts going off. His A3 is very, very nice. Here's an AoE attack. It's a decreased duration by 3 turns. Now this can help you remove Stone Skin, but Stone Skin still has that 50% chance to strip protection. Also, this move has the ability to hit, which is annoying. So technically, you don't really need this attack all enemies. Ideally, it just happened, but anyways, it is an attack, so he does have a chance to weak hit. And if he weak hits, he can't land his second part of this ability, which is the increase the cooldowns of all enemy skills by 3 turns. Now this is really nice. So it's a strip and it's a lockout ability. And if you manage to remove all the buffs, you go back into extra turn, which is really nice. So then you can lock them out, reduce all their stuff, and then go back in for a petrification, AoE fear. Yeah, again, very crippling combination here. If you can land both of these same turn. And then his passive here, very, very annoying as well. Places true fear on an enemy for 2 turns if they are revived. So it really just shuts down a lot of champions as well. If they try to recover, they just come back in with fear. And he is actually not immune, but he removes all the hard CCs during his turn. So even if you hard CC him, you basically just stop him from using this passive effect, which is like one way to stop it. But when he gets a turn, he just removes all these debuffs and he can go back into the thing. So definitely a annoying champion, very powerful champion. If you have him, congratulations, he's a game changer for sure. Sorry, actually, there's one more non-void champion, and it's going to be the mighty Sun Wukong here from the Skinwalkers. Excellent, excellent champion. We mentioned him earlier. We got the A2 with the ignore 50% of the target's defense. Single target hit, and then all the excess damage splashes off. You obviously target the weakest champion remaining so that the splash is ridiculous. Yeah, this move is a super threat. You got an AoE here, which is just strip and lands the block buffs, which is nice. And then, of course, the passive here is super annoying. He revives himself with 100% HP and 100% turn meter 3 turns after they're killed. Also comes with a good size speed in battles. I use my Sun Wukong very, very frequently in live arena. He's just very versatile, especially with speed aura. Gives very good survivability, and he's a huge threat here with A2. Good base attack as well. And I'd say arguably one of the best free champions ever. There he is, Sun Wukong. Now let's head over to the voids. Now we got some really nice voids here. First, from the Shadowkin faction, we have Yumiko. Yeah, Yumiko, amazing champion, looks amazing as well. Bringing the very special ability here. You got 7 turn cooldown, 5 turn when booked. To increase the cooldown of all ally skills by 3 turns. Increase the cooldown of all enemy skills by 3 turns. But the crazy thing about Yumiko's ability here, Dance of Time, is that it can be reset by other reset champions. And this is a very unique thing in Raid. She's the only champion that has this ability. So she's technically busted for a lot of different teams. Right now, it's going to be Trunda teams, Titus teams, Chimera teams. And basically because his ability is so special, she fills a very specific role. Great in PvP, great in PvE. She's just insane. So obviously with mythicals now, the lockout ability by itself is not overly powerful, especially in arena. But for boss content, she is basically irreplaceable in some spots if you're looking for maximum performance. So she's gonna be up for grabs here for this 15x. And then staying with the Shadowkins here, we have Susan as well up for grabs. She's going to be probably the best turn meter booster in the game for Arena. She has this incredible ability here where you target an ally, you give them plus attack, plus crit rate, plus crit damage, give them an instant turn. He also has this really nice A3 here where it goes increase speed and then it goes fills turn meters of all allies by 20%. And it also decreases turn meter by 20 enemy and give them DP. So it's a pretty big swing here. It's on a 4-turn cooldown, but it's a pretty massive swing. Great for turn meter boosting, and then of course this just ends fights very, very frequently. Absolute powerhouse champion here, Suzanne. Also up for grabs here. These two champions are very, very enticing, especially if you are looking for best performance in like PvE or best performance in arena. Extremely, extremely powerful champions. And then lastly, for the voids, we have Night Revs, we have Narses. We have Narses here. So I'm on my alt account, so Night. I actually went for the void guarantee for Narses a couple of Valentine's days ago, but my main account doesn't have them. Missed that void guarantee. But anyways, Narses, when he came into the game, he absolutely changed the meta. At that time, meta was Taras Marichka, and White King Narses did a really good job at taking care of Taras because of this A2 AoE blast here. Really counters Marichka here with a double hit. And then, of course, this condition here, damage inflicted by the skill cannot be decreased by enemy passive skills or mastery. So basically, Taras cannot have the damage reduced by 50%. So this allowed Narses to basically Taras, for example. Very, very powerful. And then also, he put a big dampen Necrit. Necrit was really big and powerful at that time as well. And Narses definitely shut down his effectiveness quite a bit, especially ability here, this double hit shielded enemies. And yeah, just a crazy like offensive weapon here, especially with White Queen Aura. He can also play defense as well, especially with Ancora. Great champion, although used less now just because there's probably way more options. You occasionally see him show up in live arena paired with Ancora, for example. And he's going to be up for grabs on day 1. All right, now moving on to day 2, so we can kind of see here that the news changed. So also on Wednesday, August 13th, we're planning to launch another progressive event. So on day 2, we're going to have a new list of champions here. So first up on the list for non-voids, we have, sorry, not Islan. We have Atherion here, very, very powerful champion. Main thing about Atherion is that he has a 3-turn AoE block buff, decreased attack, and it's based off of enemy max HP, which is really good. So he can hit really hard. His multipliers are not very strong, so you need gear on him for him to basically tap out. He self buffs, and then he also has a passive that boosts his survivability a little bit. Good champ. You can also solo Spider. Good for Hydra as well. And then up next, we have one of the newer champions here from the Dwarf faction. We have Yuzel the Jade. Yuzel the Jade here. Cool champion, is a damage dealer. The big thing about him is that he gains a lot of benefits from turns. You can kind of see here, A1 gives an extra turn. If it kills somebody, it gets an extra turn. He has an A2 attack, is an AoE attack, goes through shields, and then has an extra chance turn. This chance increases by 10% for each hit, so it's actually a pretty high chance for an extra turn. And then his A3 here is a single target smack, ignoring all the very powerful buffs here, and 100% of the defense if it was used on an extra turn. So Suzanne specifically mentioned here, instant turn. Cool champion, but no built-in survivability, so it's kind of hard to pick him basically as standalone in live arena. But you could definitely use him in some kind of offense or like tag team or stuff like that, where you have a bit more control over the team that in. Cool champion, probably really fun to have around. Sticking with the dwarves, we have Mountain King. Mountain King's gonna be up for grabs as well. Now, yeah, when you have Yuzel, I think Mountain King's just not gonna be that same conversation. Highest base HP in the whole game, 95 base B, which is really bad. He's got this A2 here on a 4-turn cooldown, 50% ignore defense, which is nice, and then kill somebody. You could have made this a little bit more interesting, maybe make it a 3-turn, which is threatening. For example, some Wukong's A2 is a same ignore 50%, and it's only on a 3-turn, whereas the Mountain King is on a 4-turn. It does have the extra turn mechanic, but not as good, I think. And then his other big smack here on his A3 ignores a lot of the defensive buffs, but it doesn't ignore defense and 4-turn, so not as good. There's a passive here that increases attack, and he's immune to decreased attack and block active skills, which is kind of interesting. I mean, you could have just made Mountain King like immune to like all sorts of debuffs. Yeah, and he still would not be busted. He's just kind of meh. But cool champion, can be fun to play with. Moving on to the next non-void champion, we have first Axe Tuscore. Axe Tuscore. Sorry, he's from the Ogren tribes. Axe Tuscore. Yeah, he's a damage dealer. He's attack based. He's got a chance for extra turn. He's got AoE attack here, damage boosting. Based on the buffs on this champion, decreases cooldown if he kills somebody. And then he has an A3 here, which is double hit, single target, self buffs himself, ignores shields, and gets an extra turn if he kills somebody. So I guess this is a extra turn kind of day, extra turn kind of champion day. His passive is going to boost up his crit damage as well, which is kind of nice. So you get some pretty good attack, attack damage, boosting abilities on his kit. I haven't play tested this guy myself, but some people have told me that he actually hits pretty decently. I'm not too sure. I haven't seen too much play testing on him personally. I wouldn't be surprised if this A3 hits super hard. You get the plus attack and then plus crit damage on a 3-turn, and then you get a chance for extra turn. Well, could be very powerful. I mean, for Ogren tribes, it's probably a good champion. And he's going to be up for grabs on day 2. Now, lastly, for the non-voids here, we have from the undead, we have Rotos. Going to be up for grabs here as well on day 2. Extremely powerful champion. On both my accounts, I have my Rotos fully a 6-star ascended. I built his blessings from 0 stars all the way up to 6 stars. He's just a powerful champion for PvP. And I lean pretty heavily on him to get the job done in tough situations. Great passive here. The passive stays relevant after so many years. Decreases damage from enemy hits so that incoming damage from any single hit will not exceed our champion's max HP. So basically, on a single hit, he cannot die. He needs at least 1 hit to kill him, which is insane. Got this A3 here that will block revive you after a certain amount of HP is stolen with his 2. If you kill somebody with his A3, you get an extra turn. It's on 3-turn cooldown, which is really nice. 40% damage from books here. Make sure you book out your Rotos. He gets a lot of benefit. His A2 here will increase his max HP while also destroying the enemy max HP. And of course, the steal from his A2 is going to lead to the block revive A3 much quicker. His A1 gives a decreased defense and a chance for extra turn. My Rotos is in a 9-piece Merciless, and he just pops off, and it's super fun for him to basically solo entire enemy teams. Whenever he's out there, there's always a chance that some craziness can happen. And yeah, he's just a cool champ. Love this guy. He's up for grabs on day 2. And that's it for the non-voids. Let's go to the void champions here. From the dwarves, we have Arnorn The Shining. Now, Arnorn The Shining is actually like super insane champion here. Big thing about him is that his passive increases champions attack by 5% for each active buff on the team. That can be very insane. But his active ability here on a 4-turn cooldown prevents this champion death, keep them at 1 HP when they're hit by a fatal hit, places stone skin on them, and it instantly activates the Wrath of Rothgleim, which is the A3. So his A3 is an AoE, ignores increase defense, strengthen, and shield. And then if it kills somebody, it pushes turn meter back by 50%. Now, this ability can be absolutely insane because when you try to kill this guy, he survives with the stone skin, and then he hits you with this huge AoE that can just totally wipe you out. So not really easy to deal with this guy sometimes. And yeah, he can definitely take you by surprise. His A2 also hits super hard here. If the target's under 2 or more buffs, then it will ignore 35% of defense, and then he gets an extra turn mechanic when he kills somebody. It's on a 3-turn cooldown, so this is extremely deadly. He has high base attack as well. A1 lands a stun. Good champion. He's void as well, which is really nice for a nuker. I've been definitely one shot by this guy, just just with A3, randomly dies. Yeah, cool champ. You can break his stone skin to kill him. He's gonna be at pretty low HP, so you can still kill him through stone skin. But yeah, you gotta be ready for this guy. Very, very nice champion. Up next for the void champions here, we have from Night Revs, another void champion here, Georgian. Very cool champ. High base attack. He has this A3 here that cuts through so much stuff, and then you get extra turn here. Kill somebody right into his AoE, which pushes back turn meter and cannot be resisted. Very powerful AoE attack. Passive is insane. Is a 50% chance of ignoring 50% of the target's defense from each hit placed by this champion skill. So 50% chance of the time you're gonna just blow away everybody. All relevant buffs here you're just gonna ignore, which is nuts. For a long time, he was one of the few answers against Stone Skin. But yeah, there's more answers nowadays. George is not as powerful, but still a really, really fun champion to have around. And lastly, we have from the Shadowkin, we have Arnorn Ayasu. I have this champion. He's really, really powerful for PvE and PvP, actually. Super high base attacks, 1630 here. His A1 is really powerful, so even if he's locked out, his A1 is extremely threatening. You have a double hit. Each hit, you get more hits when they're under a buff. Also, a little bit extra hate for the undead faction here. You get an extra turn if you kill somebody. So if you kill somebody with his A1, which is really powerful, he gets an extra turn. You just cycle through that really easily. And then his A2 here is a single target double hit. Increased damage effect for each buff and debuff. So it goes both ways. And if you kill somebody, you block, revive them with A2. It's on a 3-turn cooldown as well. And then his A3 here on a 3-turn cooldown as well. Ignore Stone Skin, Shield, and Strengthen, and 50% of defense. That's it. There's no conditions. It's absolutely insane for an A3. And his passive here does this damage spread ability here. Very, very powerful. It's amazing against Hydra. You just do insane amounts of damage against Hydra with this passive. He was one of the best damage dealers for Hydra before they changed the way the multi-hits worked against Hydras. So at some point late in 2024, they changed the way the Hydras worked, how they registered damage from multi-hits, so ally attacks or multi-champions. So he's not as strong anymore. He basically can't overflow, I guess, his multi-hits when they're when the Hydras are already dead. You can't overflow his multi-hit as much, so he's going to be damage reduced nowadays, but he's still one of the best damage dealers, sure, against Hydra, at least in terms of the non-busted champions. Anyways, he's going to be up for grabs for day 2. And the last part of the announcement here is a little bit of a long one. We do have a extra legendary event from Sacred Shards, guys. So if you guys are aware of this, when you pull a legendary during this event, you get an extra one, but it's only going to come here from the yellow shard, the Sacred Shard. Yeah, so it's a great event if you know that you haven't pulled a legendary from your Sacred Shard for many moons, I guess, but you're still looking at 6% base rate pull. There's no boosted rates to pull legendaries from the Sacred Shard. But if you do pull a legendary, you're going to get an extra one. That's the way it works. Unfortunately, these type of events are going to be very disappointing for some people and very fun for other people. So if you have a lot of Sacred Shards, it might be worth the gamble if you haven't pulled a legendary in, say, like 20 Sacred Shards, of course. But you also don't want to jeopardize your future events. So the way these events work, these extra legendary Sacred Shard events, is they're very enticing. They want you to dump your shards, and then they probably get you in some future event, right? So for example, we have to keep in mind that Shayak, the Pack Master, might be up for grabs. Also, Crowcat's Soul event might be up for grabs. So there's a lot of things to consider here. So you don't want to put yourself in a really bad position. You can't pick up those goodies. So for example, here I have 34 Sacred Shards on my alt account. My main account, I only have, I believe, 2. So on my main account, it's like no question, I can't go for it. Sorry, I have 3, but on the alt account, I might consider, right? I'm actually not too sure what my mercy is. I'll just double check for you guys real quick. Oh, perfect. Actually, on the helper here, it says my mercy is 17. So I haven't pulled a legendary in 17 sacred shards. I have 34 sacred shards in my stash. So I'm a good candidate to participate in this extra legendary event. Basically, the mercy for sacred shards start at 12. So every sacred shard you pull afterwards increases your odds. However, they don't increase by a lot. They only increase by 2% each, which is a total sham. So when people talk about sacred mercy, it's kind of negligible, to be honest. But at least you're getting a little bit of a boost every pull after 12. So it does slightly increase your chances. But I would say, if you're not sitting on a whole bunch of sacred shards and if your mercy is not very high, you can probably skip this event and then look forward, to other events, maybe Shaik or Soul coming up. Also keep in mind that the expected value for the extra legendary events actually yields you slightly more legendaries per shard than like 2x events. So if you double the double chance to pull legendary, it's actually slightly better than that. But the fact that you can only pull one legendary and then the event ends for this extra legendary event, means overall you're not getting crazy benefits from it. But per shard, you get a small benefit, a small advantage pulling for 1+1. But you need a lot of shards to kind of ensure that you realize the gains. Anyway, just a quick little tidbit there. But yeah, that's going to be it for the video, guys. Hopefully this was informative for you guys. Like I said, there's going to be 2 separate progressive events happening during CVC. Usually progressive events are pretty much, pretty scams. Like they're just scams, right? You're not going to get a super high chance of getting the champion that you want. So generally it's best to avoid. But there is a, extra legendary from Sacred Shard event happening. So you can choose a progressive champion of your choice, and then you get a slightly better chance at getting that champion. 15x, boost basically gives you about 6 or 7% chance of getting your desired champion, but there's no boosted rates to getting them, so it's still a long shot. But hey, you guys are all caught up to date with the events. Like I said, guys, I'll be streaming CVC after CVC starts, maybe a couple hours or so. If you guys are online, make sure you guys drop on by. Once again, thank you guys so much for watching. Have a great start to your week, and I'll see you guys in the next video.